Welcome for another episode of Wave On. I'm your host, Misty Markham, here in Sylvan Lake, Michigan, providing all the paddleboard messages. I've got another one here with a student perspective, and the interest or the commonality that we share here is not just paddleboarding, but with Cami, who was on the podcast back a while from Aqua Om. She's in PA, and this all started with a picture that was posted. And I was super inspired by it. I was super inspired by it with the students that I even have and what I tell them a lot about, and even newbies. So she overcame a lot of fear, conquered things out there on the water, and obviously very inspired by who she's surrounded with as well. And I love this podcast. The message, it kind of goes a little bit into some directions, but guess what? It all circles back. It comes together like a web 360. And I love the message that she shares, and I hope you guys do too. If you're in the area, Sylvan Lake, Michigan, Oakland County, come on out for classes, lunamoonsupyoga.com. And we've got the code LUNA10 for any retail to save. And I inspire you to listen to this message of a newbie and then hit the water. So let's dive in. And episode 29, here we go. Whoa, here we are. Welcome to the podcast. I've got Robin, and she's actually a really unique connection for me because I have my own, people that I talk to quite a bit throughout the paddleboard business, and I've been fortunate enough to become closer with Aqua Om, Cami, and so this is how I've met Robin. And Robin, thank you for being here. You're sharing your vacation time with me.
Indeed, but it's all good.
Yeah, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here.
So am I. I hope if anything I say to anybody today, if it reaches one person or if it reaches, 500, by all means. I always joked with Cami because Cami I've known literally since I was like 4. We used to take dance. So, I've known her for forever and a day, and she's actually BFFs with one of my coworkers. And Cami's been after me to go paddleboarding for probably like the last 2 years. And I'm like, there ain't no way I'm doing this. And, part of that mindset was just for me because I'm a big girl. You guys can't see from, chest down, but there's a whole lot of loving going on here. and a lot less loving since last year because my fiance and I just kind of decided as of March 1st. So before, the whole shit show of 2020 occurred, he was like, hey, I felt really good doing keto. And I was like, okay, let's go back and do it, no biggie. And so we started that March 1st, and, here we are, full year plus later, and I'm down about 90 pounds.
Wow, that's amazing.
People are like, oh, how'd you do it? And I'm like, oh, keto, it is what it is. It's not for everybody, nor will I be the first to say that it's for everybody. Mm-hmm. Like there's like, oh my God, I can't do without carbs. Oh my God. You just find how to make your normal recipes with less carbs.
Yeah.
And, and if that means you cut out a couple of things, then so be it. It is what it is. And I can honestly say I feel so much better, health wise. I have a bum leg. I'll be the first to admit it. And Cami, was talking to me the one day and she was like, hey, do you want to go paddleboard? I'm like, you know what? Screw it. What do I got to lose?
Yeah.
And, we went out and it was awesome. We went out with our friend Cindy and our friend Shelly, and Cami was like, so you're going to give standing a shot? And I'm like, no, like, there's no way in hell I'm doing this because like the fact that you got me out here, I'll consider this a victory, but I'm not standing. Like, I don't trust this board whatsoever. The fact that it's holding me, I'm okay with, whatever. And we paddled up to, I think it was Cammie named them all, like all these like little coves at Blue Marsh.
Yeah.
And I think we paddled up to Butterfly Cove, I want to say. And she's like, so what do you think? And I go, I freaking love this. This is so amazing. And she goes, I told you. It was like a freaking like, Maury Povich, where they're like, I told you you were the baby daddy. Like that was like the kind of like cathartic moment that I had, because just looking around, not hearing the traffic, looking around at the beauty of it all and just taking it all in. That's what it's all about for me. And my fiance was like, oh, did you like it? And I'm like, yep, doing it again next week. And he was like, really? And I go, oh yeah, I'm totally in it for this one. And he was like, oh, okay, well, maybe you found your niche. So I posted pictures, did the normal like social media thing. Oh, let me post pictures of my adventure paddleboarding. And, so many people messaged me and they were like, hey, who did you, go through, so on and so forth. So I posted it with Cammie's like little aqua ohm, and boom, people are like, oh, I went paddleboarding because of you. And I was like, okay, so going back full circle to last year, and being somebody who's a plus size individual, I was like, screw it. I lost this weight. I'm going to get a bikini. And I was like, I'm going to own this.
Yeah.
And so I said to, I do a makeup thing on the side, and I was doing a live, and I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to go out there with a bikini. And my friend Keith, who also knows Cammie, was like, oh my God, I so want to be there for this, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. So now we have my friend Patty, my friend Keith, Cammie, and myself, and we're all going out there. And I was wearing a tank top, and Cammie goes, dude, you're wearing a bikini. Like, take off the damn tank top. And I'm like, okay. So I did. And she was like, oh my God, yes, I love it. And, Keith, super awesome. He's been super supportive throughout and a great friend. And Patty herself has gone through an insane weight loss journey as well. So she's like, I'm so freaking proud of you. Like, you're like my spirit animal. And, and that was really awesome to have that love and support from like your close knit friends.
Yeah.
And, and then on the way back in from that day's adventure, Patty was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and stand. And I was like, better you than me. Because I was still fine, just chilling like a villain, sitting down and paddling away. Yeah. And Patty got up, and on her third try, she got up, and, I was like, well, shit, Patty can do it. I'm going to give it a go.
Nice.
Cammie's like, oh yeah, do it. So here I am, perfectly still. Cammie's like, no, you got to be moving in order to get up. And I'm like, that sounds like it's so much more challenging.
Yeah.
So I'm like, can I just try from like, she's like, no, you need to start paddling and then work your way up. And my butt was in the air. I was kind of in like, my hands were on the board, my feet were on the board, my butt is flying high up in the air. And I was like, well, shoot, I'm committed at this point. I got to either get back down or just go for it. And I went for it. And Cammie's like, that's the shit. Keep on doing it. Do it. And I was like, Cammie, you better be getting a freaking picture. Otherwise, this ain't ever happening again. So that's how you met me, because you see this picture of me in my bikini, hands over, paddle over, totally rocking it and totally standing. And it was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, like amazing doesn't even do it justice, because it was so much more than that.
Right.
And, it's just awesome, because I can't tell you I think the last time I bought a bikini was probably when I was a teenager, like pre-puberty. And, here I am. And, when Cammie posted, I'm like, oh, geez, like mentally in my head, it's still that person who from last year who was, almost 100 pounds heavier. And I'm going, oh, I'm that token fat chick right now in a bikini on social media, I'm opening myself up to negativity and all of these other things. And then, mind blown, all of these people have been like, oh my God, if she can do it, I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was totally insane to me
Yeah.
because I never looked at myself, number one, as, like Cammie's like, oh my God, you're like these people's heroes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, why? It's just me being me.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it was just the most awesome feeling. And if you've never done it, you need to do it.
That's the big part. It's everyone thinks that they need to show up being a pro. And
Oh no.
it's the same thing, with where I'm at, even in Michigan. It's they think they need to show up being a pro, or they think that they're going to be holding somebody back. Like in the class, they think that everyone else is showing up a pro and they're the only one that's not. And I'm like, you have no idea. Everyone is so new to this sport still. And, to have messages that are more about what you're voicing versus like, oh, well, I can stand on my head and do all these other things on a paddleboard. And it's like, well, that's cool. That's great for you, but that's not most or a lot of people, So it's like when I saw the picture, I was like, and her message, of course, what she wrote to go along with it, I was like, oh my God, because I can relate to this message of who I teach and who I'm inviting to come out. And sometimes it's even an age thing too. They think I'm too old to do that yet right now,
Well, and that was my biggest thing because, Cammie's been after me, like I said, for 2 years, and I turned 40 last year. So I'm like, screw it.
Yeah.
Why not? It's truly been my mantra since I turned 40. And, I really started, and that was kind of like what I jokingly said to you before, we really started talking. I sell makeup on the side, and I was like, okay, I need to get these jitters off before I just start aimlessly rambling with you. And and that's really just become like my mantra since I turned 40, is that you need to become comfortable in your own skin.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not you're a size 2 or a size 24, just be comfortable with who you are.
Yeah.
And and if you don't like something about you, there's ways and means to go about and fixing it. Whether it's working out, whether it's dieting, whatever the case you need to do for you. And for me, and it was me and my number one support system, my fiance, and he and I making that decision to consciously change our eating habits.
Mm-hmm.
And that was huge.
Yeah.
Trying to, tell somebody who is used to eating everything and anything under the sun, hey, you can't have this. Okay. But then looking in the mirror and seeing my results, I'm like, okay. And I was okay with that because, last year at this time, I was 6 sizes larger in pants and 3 sizes larger in shirts, and then people are like, oh, that's so great. Now you have to buy new clothes. First off, being a plus size person and buying clothing sucks. It's freaking expensive.
Yeah.
They're totally, pinpointing that specific market, place, and determining that plus size clothing needs to be like so much more expensive than that size 2 piece of clothing. Yeah, I get it. There's some extra fabric, but what do you freaking do? It's anything different from the size 2 versus the size 24. And that's my biggest thing that I've come full circle with because, Cammie is a petite individual. My friend Cindy is a petite individual, and they're like, oh, come on. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be like the rando fat funny friend over here in the corner. And that was always my thing. Like that was my token, so to speak. Oh, okay, we'll keep Robin around because she's got jokes. I got jokes for days. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But, there's so much more face value in regards to who I am than just my skin.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people need to learn and become okay with themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. And actually, just the other day, even, I can't remember what exactly was being said, but the statement coming out of it was that if we only would have known these things or realized this when we were in middle school.
Oh, hands down.
Why does it have to be, like halfway through your life or more that you realize this?
Well, and I think that that's 100% true. I mean, there's things I look back with, oh, why did I pay off my student loans? Oh, wait, better yet, why did I even go to college when I've never used my college degrees?
Mm.
Yeah, I paid for 2 of them and I ain't using either of them. I mean, hindsight's 2020, but what you need to look at is what's going like that forward momentum and what's really pivoting and propelling you to be that better person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, that I don't think you can put a price on, thankfully, because after paying off student loans, ridiculous.
I totally get it. It's crazy. It's yeah, that's a whole nother like subject of like but what's funny is that like, yeah, paddleboarding is what has brought something to be in common here, but it's always more than just a paddle and a board,
Oh, so much more. Honestly, in my perspective of paddleboarding, that's the vehicle of sorts. If you want to use that as like your that's your vehicle, your mode of sorts. But if you've never done it, like, and I say this firsthand because I've only really been paddleboarding like 6 times in my entire life. And that's literally been the last 6 weeks because stupid me never realized how freaking amazing it is.
Yeah.
But if that's your vehicle to get out there and try something new and, really find out a little bit more about yourself because yeah, I go out with friends and yeah, we hang out, we socialize, the whole bit, but it's so much more. Like Cammie and I think went out last week, just the 2 of us, and I totally lost track of time. Like there was no element of time whatsoever, which is mind-boggling to me. Like, yeah, I bring my phone out. I might check it once, if that. But Cammie and I were just shooting the shit the entire time. And then I felt my phone. It was my fiance going like, hey, what are we having for dinner? And I'm like, oh my God, it's almost 6:00. And she's like, what? And I go, yeah, no clue. No concept of time,
right.
Which, someone like myself, I work in, I work in retail management. I have this side thing going on. I personally don't have a whole lot of time. Yes, I get the standardized, 2 days off unless it's, holidays, whatever. But I choose to spend one of those 2 days off every week out on the lake because that's what's giving me my peace and my internal balance. And I know that sounds so completely cliche, but those are times I will never get back. And and I'm really kicking myself in the butt for not having done it sooner, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because instead of Cammie, as we're sitting out there talking, I'm like, all right, let's try some yoga. Like, let's do this. And so she's like, okay, let's do some like light, like just some breathing techniques and so on and so forth. And I was just like, yep, I'm cool with this.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, just looking around, like if you go to a lake and, you find like Cammie's named all of these different offshoots of the lake where generally we go just to avoid, the boaters who don't have proper boat etiquette. And you laugh because you understand that fully.
Yes.
People that just don't understand that they're not the only ones on the lake. And so we just go off to like these little offshoots, whatever. And, last week we literally dropped an anchor and we just hung out.
Yeah.
And that you can't, it's irreplaceable time that I don't care that I don't get that back, because it was
Mhm.
literally one-on-one interaction with Cami. It was great conversation, and if you're going to go paddleboarding with a friend, because, it's a great way to really up your friendship. Like Cami
Yeah.
and I have always been acquaintances, but we haven't been super close.
Mm.
And I can honestly say, now that I found the love and the passion in the same thing that she does, I feel like it's coming full circle with our friendship
That's awesome.
and bringing it to a deeper level versus, the surface value friendship just because we've known each other for so long.
Right. Yeah. It's so true. All those things you just said. It's like and and a lot of and we kind of talked about this in the last episode a little bit, touching on, how do you motivate people? How do you, convince them or get them to see, that other side of the picture versus just a fear factor that, thinking I have to stand, that I have to be a pro and be super athletic and do all these things. And, it's like just it's just taking like one step at a time, and then these layers like start to unfold, you like of all those things that you just said. And I think sometimes we try to create that with pictures, and I'm doing a lot more video lately because why not? I think I had a weird aspect with videos because they take up so much space, and like then you have to edit and all this stuff, but I don't care. Like if it now it's like to get people to see what you just said and the story of like, because same with me, like there's a group of ladies that it sucks. We don't see each other as much during the winter, but we're out almost every day on the boards, and like just kind of what you just said, like just we stop and then we're like, oh, let's just try some yoga, or we sit and have a snack and have water with us or whatever, and hang out, and then we lost track of time. And I'm like, oh, I got to get back. I got a class like tonight. I got to go do this some more with another group of people. But it's just like you, social media for, yeah, you could take some pictures or post them, live right there. You don't have to though. And it doesn't, you don't even have to bring the phone. I mean, the phone costs a lot of money. Just leave it back and so you don't drop it. And, and like, I use my GoPro a lot for the pictures and things like that. But I mean, yeah, you lose track of time completely. You're just like in your own element.
Well, and I know a lot of people have heard that you need to learn to walk before you run.
Mm-hmm.
And, I look at where I've come in my 40 years, and, I've learned how to walk on several occasions, but I never really took the leap of faith in order to run, so to speak. And, paddleboarding for me has been my running, because, I did the things, as a kid, I played softball, I was a cheerleader, I did all of these things, you know, you name it, I was probably in the club, all of the above. I danced, and I did all of that because, in the back of your head, your parents are going, "Oh, you need to do this for your college application. Oh, you need to do this for your college application."
Yeah.
And at least that's what my parents were doing,
Mm-hmm.
and I look at it and I'm like, "Okay, I did all of that, but it's not helping me right now." You know,
Yeah.
and it's not really giving me my happy time, my happy place. And I feel it's kind of very full circle to how people become happy with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You need to learn to walk before you can run. And you need to learn your boundaries, your parameters, things of that nature in order to be happy with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes everybody. Everybody has a different level of skill set, whatever the case may be, and what's in their proverbial wheelhouse. But it's, you know what you need to find internally in order to make you the happiest and to be most comfortable with yourself. And I think the real shame of it is that there's people out there who are in their 80s or older who aren't even happy with themselves
Yeah.
and what they did or did not accomplish. And I think that is the real sad factor that, you know, and that took me a while. Like this probably really only came full circle probably within like the last 2 years. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, people can compliment you and that's great, but you're like internally, you're like, yeah, okay, whatever, you know. But now I'm at a point where my I don't give a fuck is pretty much gone. Like it's done. Like you don't like what I do? Okay, look away.
Right.
You know, and that was really how I felt when Cami posted that picture because like immediately I almost reverted back to where I was even when I was 37, 38 and I'm going, "Oh god, they're going to, I can't if I see any negativity, I'm probably going to cringe." And then I'm like, "You know what? Fuck it." Like if they don't like it, look away. If you don't like what you see, look away. Because you know what? I'm living my best life for me,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not doing anything to make you happy or you happy. Or, if you're going to be a troll on social media, then really, what kind of life are you living
Right. Yeah.
that you need to be a piranha in this insane fishbowl of social media? And that I think is more cathartic and coming full circle with who you are and your level of happiness because again I never would have gone paddleboarding 2 years ago you know so being happy with who I am now has just brought me so much more peace and tranquility with myself because hey, did you hear that rumor about you? Okay, tell me more. Like tell me about it because I haven't heard it yet. Like I don't care.
Right.
Thing that I can say. I mean, yeah, sticks and stones can break my bones, okay. I can break my own bones on my own accord. I'm like the most Dopic individual out there. I don't need your help, but thank you.
Right. Yeah. And how did you, I mean, it sounds like this was sort of like an evolution within the
Oh, hands down.
past few years, but I mean, I guess how does it just like come together then, really? Like,
Oh, shoot, if I had that answer.
come on, Robin.
I mean,
Tell me more.
honestly, I don't know.
Yeah.
I really have no clue. It's definitely an evolution of who you are and where you need to go. And I mean, like there's people I can see out in the public and that I know they're not happy with themselves and I know they're not. And I almost empathize, but then I feel like I'm feeding into the sadness and the, for lack of a better term, the drama that they themselves want to thrive on. And I feel that honestly, the drama and all of the negativity surrounding them is something I don't want to be a part of.
That's true too.
I mean, the most unhappy people I feel will only bring negativity, drama, a whole pile of BS and everything under the sun to their table, but yet they're not bringing anything that's going to satisfy you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I can see that. I can see that.
And that for me was really part of my, come to Jesus meeting with myself,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and by no means am I a religious person, but it was really my moment because it was, if I'm not going to be happy for myself, then first off, what kind of relationship am I having with my fiance?
Yeah.
Because I can't love somebody else if I don't love myself.
Right.
you
Yeah.
know and I think that that's a big issue with a lot of people because who struggle especially in relationships or anything of that nature because part of the reason why I feel like you're struggling or looking at it from an outsider anyway is because you yourself don't love yourself enough to love somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I know we're going super deep right now, but I feel it's a very true statement. And, you know, and if you can't be happy with yourself, then, you know, I empathize, but then you need to find your niche.
Yeah. And it might be a little bit of like, okay, the coin got flipped. And unfortunately, I mean, if you're looking at somebody else, it's not to be judgmental. It's just to recognize that, oh, wow, that is an example of what I don't want to do or be like.
Oh, hands down.
You know, I mean, think about it. It's like I can probably think of a bunch of people off the top of my head.
I have like 5 right now, right? Or like brimming right here.
You know, like, it's too bad, but it is what it is.
You know, or you can only allow so much. Oh, you know, I get it. I understand. Or I really feel bad. And you know what? I'm tired of saying that to people. You know, not the most real individual that you're going to get. What you see is what you get. You know, yeah, a funny side, but I would like to think that I'm fairly intelligent.
Sure.
And that I can bring my own deck of cards to the table and be able to hold my own, you know. But I feel that there's a lot of people, because they don't know where they're at, and like they're kind of like in this limbo state of, well, maybe if I do this, maybe it'll be happy. Well, what about this? Maybe I'll be happy, so on and so forth. And they never find their ground. And that, to me, I think is more sad than anything.
Yeah, right. Yeah, a lot of interesting topics happen when you're out paddleboarding.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. But it's always like the most real conversations.
Totally.
I'm like, Cammie's probably going to kill me for this, but whatever.
Uh-oh.
Like yesterday we were talking about unsolicited dick pics.
Okay. Nice. Go on. And
then Rez is out with us and he's like, oh yeah, I'm out of this one.
And that's another friend that comes out quite often.
He's like, I'm done. This is kind of like the world of tampons. I'm not partaking in this.
Beautiful.
But it was like the best conversation because it was myself, Patty, Cammie, and we're like, what is it with guys doing that? Like, hey, how you doing? You're looking pretty good. And then boom, they just drop it on you. And you're like, I didn't ask for that, but thank you. You know, and then who made the emoji of the eggplant?
Oh, I know.
Because most guys out there are not eggplants whatsoever. You know, before when I was single, I remember a guy sending me one and I sent him back a mushroom. Like, oh, you like that? And then like sent me like the eggplant. I was like, try a mushroom because it's not an eggplant.
Oh.
Reality sucks. I know it. I'm probably a little harsh for some people, but whatever. I mean, just like the random conversations, like these are the funny things because you can have like the most real of real. It's kind of like the slogan, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Yeah.
100% is. It's like the best girl talk in like a 2 or 3 hour stint.
That's
that
hilarious.
You didn't have to have the girl sleep over for. And you know, it 100% just stays there, minus this conversation, because I just told everybody. But
oh, that's just a piece.
But I mean, those are like the best conversations. And, you know, Patty was like, yeah, I just don't get it. Like, do they think we want to see this? Like, no, we don't care about that. We want to see the person, not,
right.
You know, your aisle from the local grocery store.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. And like, I feel like it'd be the same with kayaking too, because I went kayaking over the weekend and we met 2 other ladies out there who I would have never met how would I have met them? And they're talking and this person, like, oh, actually, yeah, I do. And then she starts talking about someone else. And it was just like, it was just cool to have that, cause I mean, I'm not going to have that walking down the street. I probably won't get that either going, out to eat, So
you're never going to have those kind of conversations, I mean, just being able to, again, become one with everything that's going on around you.
Right.
And it's literally like that little bubble that becomes around you and encapsulates you into this little separate Narnia of sorts.
Yeah. That's such a cool way to say
it. Like that, like you're Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Like, okay, what page am I going to turn to that we're going to just go into, this other complete random subtopic? And what are we going to talk about next?
Yeah.
I mean, no guidelines, there's no stipulations, there's no nothing to what any of that time out there on the lake is, because it's 100% what you want to make it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's, you have your own board. So like bring whatever you want, attach it to the board,
Yep.
Bring an anchor or whatever, and like there's been some silly times out there as well. Like with what you're saying, just like the girls out, talking, whatever. And it's like the inner child just got like let out, and the most silliest things, just random. It could be like anything, and it could be like connected to a piece of nature or something, or that made you think of something else, and you just, it's like, there's no one else out there judging you, so you just do your thing. And
it's very, 100%, because like I always joke whenever I straddle the board and it's like my legs are dangling on either side versus just sitting and then letting them both hang over.
Yeah.
I always joke and I'm like, hey guys, if my lady bits are out, I am so sorry. Like the fabric in between those bathing suits is so daggone non-existent. I feel like I'm like playing like peekaboo. And I'm like,
no, this is another awesome conversation, because I always say, I was like, okay, everyone asks, what do I wear for paddleboarding? And I'm like, well, you wear whatever you're comfortable with. But I also think that there needs to be a better industry of paddleboarding clothes, because think about it. Like there's yoga you're trying to do paddleboarding on.
Yeah, like I've come to the conclusion, like the fabric is like this. In between to expose your lady bits. I've come to that conclusion, and I don't know if it's plus size swimwear. I would assume it's also the same for regular.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
it is.
But like I'm going, and then like my hands immediately are like this. I'm like, Cam, Patty, I am so sorry if I am exposing my lady bits. I'm trying to make sure everything's covered, but I just feel like, because no matter what, like when your swimsuit gets wet, especially on your bottom, everything stretches out.
Yeah.
And it's not it's like, no, it's not a pretty stretch out, so you got like bubble butt going on in your swim drawers, and you're exposing yourself and all your lady bit glory. And then here you are and you're like, so anyway, let's talk about something random. Let's just distract away from the fact that I potentially am exposing myself to you and Mother Nature. Okay.
Well, at least you're with your own little,
Thank God I'm with people I know.
Yeah, your own little cube of, because I've experienced that too as well. And then, there was one time that the girls, I'm not going to say who, but they were on another lake where it was like a little more private, and they were like, oh no, we're going skinny dipping off of our board.
Good for them. Good for them.
And then they were telling this story of how like they couldn't like necessarily get the wet clothes back on the way they wanted.
Oh, there's no way. There is no way that if a swimsuit is wet, you are going to get that on into the same position that you got it onto a dry body. It is an improbable fact.
And this all became then conversation on the next paddle because they were telling me about it. I wasn't there, and they, came out to my lake and they're talking, and they're telling me about it. They were talking about how they were trying to pull their paddle boards out of the water at the end, and the one house that they're at, the guy he's kind of wants to come over and start talking to him. She's like, this is the worst time to start talking to me.
I mean, it's real. I mean, I feel like like the first time I went paddleboarding, I wore, I think I wore a one-piece swimsuit because at the time I truly didn't want to invest in a swimsuit until I felt like I was at like my max that I was going to lose. But I mean, I've been plateaued at this, weight probably for about the last 2 months. So, and like I went to put on my swimsuit from last year and I was like, oh my God, I look like I have diaper butt. I mean, it's hanging off of my rear end. And I'm like, my boobs, and people are like, oh, your boobs are like the first thing you lose. Oh no, I have not.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I lost 2 cup sizes, but it's still like hands down, like boom, in your face. And then there's my butt, which looks like I literally just ran my butt across the carpet and now I stretched out my daggone swimsuit. So I was like, oh, I got to put something on my bottom. So I had on some like pull on like capris because I wasn't sure, what I should wear, and I'm asking Cindy and she's like, well, just wear a pair of shorts if you're uncomfortable, and I was like, well, it's not that I'm uncomfortable. It's literally the fact that I need to do it just because the size is so off for me right now.
Yeah.
So my bikini, and then I have like my little moment in the sun, so to speak. And I mean, yesterday I wore a bathing suit that I haven't been able to wear in probably about 5 years. So that was, and
wow.
Cammie's like, that's a really cute swimsuit. I'm like, thanks. It finally fits again. Yeah. Awesome aha moments as I'm out there. But at the same time, I'm going, oh dear God, please let me not expose anybody today.
Yeah.
Because that strip of fabric is so minute. I want to know who it must have been a dude. It had to have been a dude.
Oh, right. Yeah. Like
there's no way.
Who's doing this?
No woman would have expected this. Like, no, I'm sorry. Not, no.
And then it's like it's like trying on or, bringing clothes, even if it's brand new out that you're like, I don't know how this is going to react. Like when I'm in my element, when I'm doing what I want to do, whether it's swimming or paddleboarding and all the things, it's like, you don't know what to expect.
Well, and it's like the same thing to be said for white bathing suits. I'm sorry, no woman should ever own a white bathing suit. You do not know how that is going to react in water. No. Ever seen somebody wear a white bathing suit, you know where I'm talking about, because then it becomes see-through.
Yes, exactly. Not so good.
Yeah, probably 2 thumbs down on the whole paddleboarding with a white suit on.
That's not good. That's like if you plan on not getting in the water.
That's definitely I'm just here to sunbathe kind of suit.
Oh yeah, completely. I would agree.
And if you do inadvertently end up in any form of pool or sauna or lake, wash it immediately because it will never be white again otherwise.
Oh yeah, that's true. And I had one that was just the top, but it was like almost like a regular bra.
Oh, like a sports bra.
Right. Yeah. And I was like, I can't even wear this. Like, there's no purpose for it.
I mean, I bought one that was, I think it's like a leopard print. So it has black dots all over it. So it definitely is not just I'm here to look cute. I feel like the practicality is still there.
Yeah.
Out in the hot tub first before I go anywhere in public. And I end up exposing myself to anyone and everyone on the lake.
Oh, man. And then what did you say?
Yeah. And then what do you say? Sorry, Cam.
Oh yeah.
I almost put it on yesterday and I was like, oh no, I haven't tried it out yet. I need to see how it acts in the jacuzzi before
okay.
I for like its maiden voyage on the lake. Cause I was, no.
And what did what did Cammie say when you're like, oh, excuse me, if just don't mind over here if I'm exposing myself.
She's like, oh no, girl, you're fine. She's like, I'd be letting you know.
Oh, that is hilarious.
But we're okay with each other like that. Like I feel, and like I actually said to her, because like last week, like I said, when it was just her and I said, I go, I really appreciate and value the time that you're spending with me because I feel, and then we like went off on like this whole other subject of my perspective on friendships and my perspectives on people and little mindset of into my brain, which bless your heart.
Please share.
Heart. I believe that there's primary, secondary, and tertiary friendships. Because you have people that you know primarily that you are definitely consider them part of your inner circle.
Mm-hmm.
Then people who are friends of your primary, who are then secondaries, who then become, whether or not you allow them,
mm-hmm.
They become primaries because you are now allowing them into your inner circle. So then they kind of like bump themselves up into a primary.
Yeah.
It's kind of like your familial structure, with moms, dads, brothers, sisters, cousins, and all of that. But it's more in the sense of friendship. And then you have those tertiary friends who are a friend of a friend. Oh, yeah, I know them. They're an acquaintance. But it's not like I'm going to be the first to text them or vice versa or call them and say, hey, let's go hang out.
Yeah.
And I feel that that's another issue that comes full circle with a lot of things because a lot of people have false sense of relationships with other people.
Yeah, that's true.
When it comes to, their primary relationship or secondary or tertiary, and then there's people who just want to be friends and in everybody else's business because they themselves can't find happiness for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Going full circle back to like 2 conversations ago.
Right.
But this is how my brain works.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's kind of funny because, like I said, the last episode was, it's not entirely like this one, but there's like some similarity with how it was like almost structured, not intentionally, but I think it's just how like women's brains kind of like they go like in a circle a little bit, but they have like a purpose or like a stopping point, but then it like webs across the circle and it all makes sense.
I think with women especially, we can have like 6 separate conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I just proved it.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, seriously, you can have probably 6 to 10 conversations going on where they're all interconnected like a spider web.
Yeah.
Because of different tangents, but realistically, it all goes back to that base conversation.
Yep.
Hands down.
Yeah, I believe that. And I don't know if you could call that just like the art of conversation. Like
I think it's a combination, especially for women. I think it's a combination of multitasking within conversations and trying to get like in my head when I'm having a conversation and it's actually happening as I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
It almost like a college syllabus where I'm like, oh, I'm starting here and then I'm going to hit these couple of different bullet points and then I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And then, I'm going to come full circle back to my original and then that's where I'm going to end. Ta-da! And that's just mentally how I know my brain works.
Yeah.
As I'm having these conversations, it's the same thing with what I do, whether I'm, doing my full-time job, I'm mentally going, okay, I went over this with this person. I went over this with person. Oh, wait, I need to go back a step because I missed something with this pinpoint, so on and so forth, which is probably why I say throughout any of my presentations that I'm with customers is, hey, do you have any questions? Do you understand?
Yeah.
Because 9 times out of 10, it's a guy sitting in front of me. And, and that's the thing that I know a lot of, like, I remember one of my customers very specifically was like, hey, thanks for at least checking in on me, because there's been other women who have tried to help me and assist me, and they're just like, boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, I need to come back. I have what happened, but being able to understand who is sitting in front of you and how you need to present X, Y, or Z, and really getting into the mindset of the person sitting in front of you.
Right.
That's how you become, a salesperson.
Mm-hmm.
But also being able to check yourself and say, hey, do you have any questions? Do you understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Because I get super excited and super passionate about what I'm talking about. And the person in front of me doesn't know a lick about anything that I'm talking about. And they're just standing there like, yeah.
Okay.
No clue.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the biggest thing that I know as a woman, I at least can address and will stop, pause, and, check myself.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my point. Here are my 3 sub points. And there's the whole conversation. Done.
Yeah. Yeah. I could relate to that with just presenting the whole paddleboarding thing to somebody when they show up as a newbie and never been on a paddleboard before, never stood on one, never held a paddle. And I'm like super passionate, and I know I'm super thorough as well, but like, yeah, it's like I'll jump to one point and I go, okay, I know I'm coming back to that, or I might seem like I'm jumping all over the place, but I will come back to that. We'll talk more about that one, because they're still standing there going, okay, how do I stand on this thing?
Wait, you want me to unlock and lift up how high?
Mm-hmm.
Like when Cammie was giving it to me, I said, look, just give me like the super unabridged version, because again, I ain't freaking standing. She goes, okay, but if you would, you need to know the number that you need to raise your paddle number to.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Fix that.
All right. Let me put it back down. And I go, you happy? She was like, very. And I go, okay, let me go put my butt on the board and be on my way. And she was like, okay.
So you went out how many times before you actually stood?
That was my second time I was out.
Okay. Yeah.
I went out one time before that, and then the second time I was all in.
Cool. That's awesome. Yay. And how do you tell other people that, like, at your other job, and they ask, what did you do last night? And you're like,
they're now asking me, oh, did you go paddleboarding?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they can hear my enthusiasm about it.
Right.
And how much I really enjoy it. Like, last week I was kind of like, if it's going to be nice, should I? And then I was like, you know what? Because I had back-to-back days off. I think I had off like Monday and Tuesday. And so my fiance was like, oh, well, what are you going to do today? And this was Monday. And I was like, okay, here's my list. This is what I want to get done. And he was like, why are you packing all of that into one freaking day? And I said, because then I can take my second day off specifically for me, which honestly has been my perfect work-life balance between, yes, you get your 2 days off, but I feel like too many people use it. What is it? Like those 7 deadly sins. And they just become that sloth on their days off of, oh, I'm not working. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. And I'm like, no, I'm going to power through that one day off to get done everything that I know I need to do for myself or for him, whether it's laundry, going to the store, whatever the case may be, prepping for the week as far as dinners. Okay, what's our meal plan for the week? So on and so forth. And then the other day I'm like, party! Time to go out.
Yeah, time to go out. Yeah, how do you keep all that motivation going? Like,
it's not hard to do when you actually enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that feeling. Like every time I feel like it's my first time getting on the board again.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm like, okay, Cam, let's do something different today. And I think last week when it was just her and I was like, okay, I know you're really going to at some point in time ask me, yo, are you going to do some yoga on these boards? And I'm like, shh. So she's like, well, I have like a super easy, a super slow class coming up. And I'm like, okay, I'll
Uh-huh.
think about it. I'm like, baby steps, yo. You got me on the freaking board. What more do you want?
Yeah, what's next?
Come on. But, and it was just like those breathing techniques. And honestly, like that was a whole nother level of, you know, peacefulness.
Mm-hmm.
Just focus on a point, which, by the way, focusing on anything in a lake is impossible because you see all these different trees, you
Mm-hmm.
see fish flying up in the water,
Yeah.
you know, a little turtle poking his head up, whatever the case may be. And you're like, oh, I felt like I was like the kid with is like, oh, look, a squirrel.
Yeah.
Because there's so many different moving ecosystems within that primary one that she's like, focus. And I'm like darting my eyes back and forth. I'm like, can she see? And I'm like, no, I need to really take this all in and focus on one specific point.
Yeah.
And I did. And I felt as though my senses were heightened to everything going on around me with my eyes being closed.
Yeah.
I just breathing.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so much to that, the whole breathing,
Oh yeah,
just I mean, even just in your day with breathing,
absolutely.
And then, add in that challenge, and it's like, all right, now my breath might get challenged, but now if I focus, I shift my focus in on that. And that's really like that's a main thing, no matter what you're
Well,
doing.
I felt like it not only brought me peace with internally in myself,
Mm-hmm.
but I was also able to accept a lot more of the sounds that are going on around me, which in turn, like yesterday when we were out, I was a lot more aware of what was going on around me. I feel because of, the previous week. And I'm like, okay, just chill, just take it all in. And people are like, oh, what do you do for yourself? Like, what do you do that makes you happy? And I always say, like, right now, I added in paddleboarding as of recent because obviously I've only been doing it for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I feel like for me personally, what I always start my day with a bath.
Oh,
Laugh all you want. It's what I do
no,
because
that's
it's the
cool.
best 15 minutes you can give yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's uninterrupted. You can just chill. It's the healthiest way to wake up your muscles without trying to, strain them or anything like that
Mm-hmm.
because it's warm water. It's what sets my tone for the day.
That's cool.
And, people are like, really? And I'm like, yeah, don't judge unless you tried it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, but you can get the same thing from a shower. And I'm like, but you can't because you can't add bubbles to, a shower.
Yeah.
You can't add soaking salts to a shower,
Yep.
bath bombs, things like that. All of those things that, from time to time I'll add in, but most times it's literally just, ungodly scalding hot water where I feel like I am blanching my skin.
Yeah.
But that's really where I feel like it just sets me for the day. And
Nice.
then adding in that extra, appendage of paddleboarding, I feel like it's one more thing that I do for myself.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people need to start doing things for themselves
Yeah.
instead about everything else besides themselves.
Mm-hmm. No,
And
it's true.
the last 6 weeks have honestly, I've been happier. Like I joke, I'm like, I'm not as much of a bitch when I come home.
Yeah.
Even with that once a week outing because it's literally giving me my reprieve.
Right. And a lot of times you don't notice that you need something like that.
Oh, I had no clue.
You could be like maybe just the slightest stressed or tense, and being out on the water for a half hour, 45 minutes, you then start to realize like, wow, yeah, I really needed this just to kind of slow my pace, breathe,
Yep.
look at the
Hands down.
blue sky, do something else, take a break from whatever it is that you're get so involved, so wrapped up doing, and
Oh, yeah.
that's different for
I mean,
everyone.
Patty, we looked over at one point yesterday. She's totally passed out cold on the freaking board. Rez was having a nap. Cammy and I are just shooting the shit. And I was like, I feel like I should be napping right now, like everybody else is. I'm like, wait, am I missing out on nap time?
Yeah, is it nap time now? Oh my gosh.
And Patty always said, "Oh, I'm not going to fall asleep on this thing. Like, what if I roll off?" And I'm like, "Okay, first off, the board that you're on is almost impossible to flip."
Yeah.
She's like, "Well, what if I?" And I go, "Look, even if I work myself off into the water from it, it still doesn't flip. Did you ever notice that?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I go, "So you won't roll off the damn board. You're fine." And apparently that's what I needed to say to her, because next thing I know, she's out cold, with her head inside like the little, life vest portion.
Right. Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. Rez was floating, like ping-ponging back and forth between, each side of like the little alcove where we're at.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, look, there goes Rez again.
That's funny.
But being able to find that much relaxation in something that you could literally lay your head down and just pass out cold that fast.
Mm-hmm.
That to me, you also can't put a price tag on, because
you're right.
My brain is literally going 100 miles an hour 24/7.
Yeah.
Like I get and I'm like, okay, what do I need to do tomorrow? Like check. Like I'm mentally already thinking about what I need to get done the next day.
Yeah, totally.
And then I go to bed, and then, the biggest thing I learned, and it was actually from my fiance, he was like, stop playing your goddamn games at night, put your phone down, get in bed, put your head down, and don't look at your freaking phone again.
Mm.
What? Like, what is this?
What do you... Why are we doing this?
What? I want to play like one more level of, whatever slot I'm playing, or hey, I want to play whatever game I'm playing, just one more level, just one. And he's like, no, put your phone down. You're in bed. It's time to sleep.
Yeah.
It has helped me immensely, because what I didn't realize is that when you're playing your games, you're actually still keeping those inhibitors in your brains pinging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if I put my phone down and I set my alarm and I literally roll over and get away and not even look at it, I can go to bed at least 2 hours faster than if I was still playing those games.
Right.
Candy Crush is going to be there in the morning. I'm fine. I don't need that extra level of Candy Crush.
Yeah. That's so true. It's like a medicine or something. It takes a while to get through your system and actually relieve something. So it's very similar to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting.
And I was always that person, okay, I'm in bed, and especially now with being, and I always, joke that it's like the post-COVID world, but 7:00 every day.
Mm-hmm.
Till I get home, it's almost 8:00. So then we're eating dinner at 8:00, and then a half an hour later, because again, he gets up super early in the morning. So we go to bed at 9:30 at the latest.
Okay.
Unless it's a weekend, and then we feel like we're party animals when we're up to 10.
Nice.
But it's what we do. And then, there were nights where I would be playing this game till 12:00 at night, and then I have to get up at 6:30 in the morning, and I'm like, why is my butt dragging? Well, because I didn't give myself the amount of sleep that I needed in order to be able to function and be a nice human being the next day. A lot more passive aggressive on those days, because I was ready to bite somebody's head off, because stupid me was more interested in playing Candy Crush versus getting the sleep that my body needs to mentally nourish itself and heal for the next day.
Right. Yeah. It's a lot of self recognition that you have to apply, and mindfulness of all of that stuff too, what you need.
Hands down.
Definitely. What's next on your bucket list? What are you going to conquer?
The world.
Ooh.
World domination.
Are you taking Cammy with you?
Well, duh, I got to.
I can see you guys as like this perfect pair.
Well, yeah, because you obviously know Cammie, so now you understand how Cammie and I get along as well as we do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so cool.
I don't know. I mean, I'm totally down for, trying anything. I mean, really with my mental realization of once I hit 40, I don't care. I'll give it a go. If I can't do it, I can't do it. It is what it is.
Right.
I mean, I'll try anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because now I know that I can, and it's okay to fail.
Yeah.
And if I don't fail, then hey, awesome, rock on.
And if you
are.
do fail at something, you'll just learn. It's either like, okay, and now I'm going to learn about being patient with myself and take the steps needed, listen, observe, all of those skills to do something else, whatever the case may be,
Hands down.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I never in a million years thought that a freaking picture would have me talk, no joke. I literally had no idea what a damn podcast was up until like, I'm Google searching, like, what the hell's a podcast?
Oh, really? Really? That's hilarious.
No idea, because I am like, with work, I use Zoom, I use Teams, like I was telling you.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell? Like, I know what it is, but like, we're not international, so why am I using Skype? Like, oh, wait, I have to set up an account? Like, what the hell? So I'm literally Googling when you were like, hey, do you want to be on this podcast? I was like, sure. No clue what it is. So let me Google this. And I'm like, okay, so it's kind of like a radio broadcast thing. Okay. Yeah. I mean, hey, if somebody thinks I'm that interesting enough to want to do it, yeah, okay, I'll give it a go.
I'm super, I don't know what to call it exactly, but I'm good at just picking out the interesting ones. Yes. I made it on. Oh, well, it's good to have you on. I really appreciate everything you shared. And, I mean, shoot, you might come back. You might be you might be a return guest.
I'm all in. If anybody wants to listen to my ridiculousness one more time, blood shorts, and I am all game.
Oh my God, that's awesome. Well, I will, thanks for everything again. And,
thanks for having me.
Yeah, sweet. And that's the show. Thanks for tuning in. Robin, thank you so much for that message that you shared and taking your time from your vacation to share it with us. And just loving the message, putting it out there about paddleboarding and just conquering all those fears. Thank you. We did our recording with a Jurassic Park background. So if you are dying to see the visual on YouTube, that will be posted later. Podcast drops every Thursday. Hit subscribe, follow along. We've got more podcast episodes coming down the pipeline. More paddleboarders. Let's see what's up on the horizon. Thanks again for tuning in.